Hey, what's up everyone? It's Dhinesha and I want to help you dream up the possibilities for your life because you don't have to live the life that you're expected to. Doesn't that feel a bit freeing? This is my advice and musings column where I answer your questions about life, the universe, and everything in between. So how these episodes work is that they're all one-take episodes. I don't really have an idea which question I'm going to get in each episode. So whatever comes out of my mouth, whether it's verbal diarrhea or whether it's actually some truth that is able to help you, I hope this video is able to help you in some way or form. Okay, so let's get started. Alright, today's question is... okay, so this question actually came from YouTube, and it basically asks, how did your parents and family react when you came out to them? Okay, so this is a huge question, okay? So a bit of a background is needed. I had conversations about being gay and queer with friends when I was in high school itself. I think one of the first conversations I had about being queer was with someone who was actually 1 year younger than me. He was actually my junior, but we were working together on a concert and all kinds of other things. And I kind of knew he was gay, he kind of knew I was gay, and we never really talked about it. Like, there was no like coming out in the process. It just, we just suddenly talked about it and, about being attracted to guys, and we talked about sex and hookups, and we just had a lot of interesting conversations. And he was one of the first few people I had actual conversations with about, coming out and my identity and things like that. And then I came out to a close high school friend of mine when I was in Form 5, when I was about 17 years old. And I remember telling her, because I was still coming to terms with my identity, and who I was, and what I was, and understanding all of the pieces. And I remember this scene quite vividly because it was several months after I dated her best friend, who was a girl. And I remember telling her that I was just feeling very confused. I was feeling very lost. I was feeling very unsure about myself. I didn't know who I was. I was still grappling with all of this because I didn't have any real life representation of what a gay person was or what a gay person could be. I'm not sure why I'm so itchy here. I don't have a mosquito bit me. Damn you mosquitoes. But what I was saying was that, I was just telling all of these things, and she said, don't worry, you'll figure it out. So shout out to you, Chang Hui, if you're watching this video. You are actually one of the first few people I ever spoke to about, being gay and things like that, even though we never really put it into words. And then fast forward several years later, I came out to my college friends. So college gave me a little bit of more of a freedom. I was able to, meet more people, get to know people, and just get to be a little more comfortable in who I was and who I was going to be and who I truly was born to be. College gave me that freedom, gave me a lot of expression, gave me a lot of chances to just own my truth a lot more. And I came out to my college friends, one by one, and I never really had any backlash from them, which was really great because they were all just tons supportive. They were just really, really nice and everything. And I think to understand how that came about is that I came out to two of them first because I actually had a hookup that went really, really bad. And I was just feeling even more lost and confused. Like, why was I not attracted to this person? I'm supposed to be gay. So why was I not attracted to this guy? And I remember telling them that, this is what had happened to me. And one of them thought I had been raped. The other one was just confused as fuck. But anyways, we did actually meet up the same day. After I had like a meltdown, texted them, ate like 3 Subways and 5 cookies with some huge amount of calories. And then we had conversations about, sex and gender and coming out and things like that. They were not very deep, let's be honest. We were 18 years old. But I was able to come out to them, and that freed me up a bit because I was able to have this space to just truly be myself and figure out who I was. So I came out to them, and then it was a slow process of just, the people who I was close to, my friends. Some of them knew, some of them didn't. It was a process. And then I came to when I was about 22, 23, and I was directing a play for my college, actually. And I was producing, and anybody who knows me, for them to get this gay vibe from me is very, very strong. I tend to be very obviously gay. From my hand movements to the way I speak, I'm just very comfortable, relatively comfortable in who I am. So I got asked this question like, Dinesh, are you gay? And I remember sidestepping that I don't know I don't know what I did in the moment, but I wasn't ready to publicly say it. Because even though I came out to close friends, even though I was very obvious in my truth, even though I was, being very comfortable or learning how to be comfortable in my truth, there was something that was holding me back. And that was, I hadn't ever come out to my parents yet. I didn't tell my parents yet. I wasn't comfortable with the fact that if I publicly said I was gay and my parents didn't know it, I would have felt really hurt if they heard it from someone else. Because I felt that would have been 10 times more confusing because they were hearing it from a total external stranger. It wasn't from their son. And maybe it's an Asian parenting, maybe it's an Asian relationship, or maybe it's just the relationship I have with my parents. But I wasn't comfortable with that. I wasn't comfortable with somebody else telling them I was gay. So even when I was so obviously who I was and I was honest in who I was still holding back. I was still holding that side of myself kept. I was still closeted to a certain extent. And then I came out to my parents. So I was actually having a really, really tough time in college at that point. Oh my God, I have another bite here. I swear to God, there's a mosquito here and it deserves to die. But I was actually having a really, really bad time. Oh my God, my mood switches is hilarious. I was actually having a really, really bad time in college. I was because on one side I was trying to figure out my identity, and then I was involved in business, and then I was figuring out my identity there, and then I was figuring out, what my college and what education in that sector meant for what I was creating with my life, and all of these things were all coming together. It was all identity, it was all crisis, it was all confusion, and I remember coming to this point where I was just like, you know what, I'm done. I think my parents need to know. And I remember going to college that day. I skipped my classes. I literally walked into the secret recipe that was nearby. I sat down and I just typed and typed and typed. And I wrote like this ridiculously long letter telling my parents that I was gay. That was my way of coming out to them. And I remember finishing it, going back to college, and then emailing it to both of them. Now, to give context, I was at that point in business with my parents. And as such, I was going to see them that night for a business meeting. We were having a big seminar and stuff. And I was going to see them that night. So there was no way I was like not going back home or any of that nonsense. So I sent it to them with a very, very, very specific instruction that they were to read it together. It was about 3 p.m. in the evening. I was heading over to meet them later that night. And my dad didn't listen. He read it first. And then he texted me. And he said, I've always known, and I love you no matter what. And I was at a train station, and I came out of the train, and I just stood by the railing, and I'm pretty sure I started to cry, because in that moment, somehow, I knew that everything was going to be alright. I knew that I was going to be fine, and I just needed that reassurance that that my parents still loved me. So anyways, my mom read it, and my dad obviously had a conversation with her and we talked about it. But the thing was, my mom and I never really talked about my sexuality. I met her that night. She gave me a hug. I gave her a hug, and it was just kind of like this, okay. That was what it was. It wasn't something we talked about. It isn't, to this day, it isn't something we've talked about. It isn't something we've had a conversation about. My dad and I have had conversations. We've talked about what it's like for me to be gay, or what I want to do with my life, how they all fit together, and we've had some really good conversations in that sense. And I'm very, very lucky with that, because I don't know how many kids who have that relationships with their dads of all people, who understand their sexuality to a certain extent and is able to be there for them and to show them the love and the support and that they need, And I remember telling my best friends, two of my best friends, one of them didn't pick up their phone. You know who you are. She didn't pick up her phone, and so the other one picked up, and we had this conversation where, this is what's happening, and my friends were all really, really awesome about it. And then, so my parents came out. We never really talked about it, not really anyway. I slowly started coming out to business associates because, my parents knew, so I could obviously be myself. I came out to business associates. Most of them were okay. It helped create greater bonds, because then I started to be able to, with the female business associates, we got to check out guys together, which is always fun, let's be totally honest, because for the first time I was able to openly, show interest in men, and that was really, really fun. And so I came out, and then December came about that year. I believe it was 2013 or 2014, 2013, I think, 2013, 2014. And India had this massive thing with gay rights, and gay sex was criminalized again. And so therefore people were, protesting, and there was all kinds of things happening, and there was this Facebook page called Gay for a Day. And I'll put the link down below. If you check my original, my first video, my coming out video, that was when I decided, you know what, it's time. I showed my support, and I come out publicly on this website to show my fellow Indians over there in India that I love them, and this fight is just beginning, and that we will get through this together. And so I uploaded the video, and it kind of went a bit viral among my friends anyway, and soon everybody I knew, and this was all happening on Facebook. So I had family on Facebook, I had friends on Facebook, so everybody kind of knew about it. I had like all of these people telling me, Dhinesh, thank you so much. I had a lot of love. I'm going to be really honest. I had tons and tons of love and light returned to me, which was the most amazing thing I could have ever imagined, because I really didn't know how these people were going to react. I didn't know how they were going to relate to it. I didn't know how they were going to understand it. And yet I had this ridiculous outpouring of love and support and things like that. But I mean, there's no need to sugarcoat it. There were also things that didn't go quite as well. Like I had, leading up to that, following that actually, we were actually going to have a family event. We were going to have like this family, I believe it was Christmas, photo taking in Christmas, and there was all of these things going on at the same time. And I remember a conversation with an uncle who, given the circumstances, he was drunk at that time, so he probably doesn't remember this. He actually quite loudly said, why would you post such a video? And it wasn't really a question, it was more like a statement. And it just flew under the carpet, it was never brought up again and things like that. But what I found really fascinating about that was that his brother is gay. So I couldn't understand I don't understand sometimes when people come and say, you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't say you're gay, or you shouldn't come out. I don't get it, because you're okay with me being gay in the shadows. You're okay with me being gay in the closet. You're okay with me being gay quietly, but the moment I speak out, the moment I tell my truth, the moment I own who I am, it's suddenly an issue. That's where I don't get it. That's where I get very upset or irritated, because this is me. Just as I'm gay, I'm also Indian. I don't hide the fact that I'm Indian. That's just who I am. So for you to ask me to pretend to be something I'm not, it's not acceptable. I do not accept it. So that was some of the things that happened. But one of the things I love the most about coming out, I spoke about it in my previous video, is that me coming out actually made the relationship I have with my sister get like ridiculously better. My sister and I have always had a pretty good relationship. Sure, we fought like normal brothers and sisters, that's absolutely normal. But it was an okay relationship. It wasn't great. We had better relationships when we were kids. And coming out just changed our relationship completely. We were more open with each other. We talked about things more with each other. I'm happy to say that one of the greatest blessings is the relationship I now have with my sister. My Parabatai, the person who I can honestly say is one of my biggest supporters. My sister. And I love that. That's one of the greatest blessings this coming out has ever given me, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Now, I know I talked about it a bit in that other video as well, but that's how friends and family reacted to me. In fact, okay, so I told you about an uncle who was a bit confusing. I also had an aunt, this was I think 2 years later, an aunt actually come up to me and say, your cousin, she's really into all this equality and equal rights and everything like that, and you should really have a conversation with her. And I remember thinking, she never said outwardly, that, obviously you're gay and therefore you should talk about it. But it was there. It was this silent, to me it felt like a silent acceptance. It felt like she was saying that I know you're gay. I saw the video. My daughter is a huge supporter of equal rights. And I love you and I accept you. And I think you should have a conversation with her. And it never really changed the relationship I have with the people in my life per se. Sure, I'm probably going to have a very, very deep conversation with some of the most important people in my life, since we've not talked about it actually. We've acknowledged it, but we've not really talked about it. It's the elephant in the room sometimes. But I'm grateful for where I am right now. And this is to answer that question. That is how my parents and family reacted to me coming out. So I've had good, I've had bad, I've had really, really confusing. But that's how my coming out has been for me. Asian parents and Asian family reacting to an Asian gay. If that's the best way to describe it. So anyways, that's that for this episode. I hope I was able to answer your question. And hopefully, give you a bit of perspective that your life could be good, that your life could be better, and that, possibly coming out could potentially, improve the relationships that you have with your life. And sometimes it can create some unexpected results, whether you know it or not. Sometimes you can never guess how people would react. Like, if you gave me a choice, I would have probably thought my mom would accept it better than my dad. But hey, you never know. So that's that. I hope that answered your question. So if you've got any more questions, you can obviously head down to the comments below and you can submit it. Or you can look at the description where you can head to my website, dhinesha.com, where you can actually post your question and I will actually answer it through this as an advice column. Alright? So subscribe, give it a thumbs up if this video was able to help you, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye!